Taco Tuesday was pretty good last night, as you can see by these two cashes on the two tacos I played with the Discord. For the slip I actually gave in the video, depending when you watch the video, you might have cashed, you might not have, because someone did comment that Dita did get taken off the board, so you weren't able to tail that either way. That was the only prop that did miss. Then we have the St. Louis stack that did hit. So assuming you watched the video later, you did not get Dita and you put the taco instead, you probably did cash a nice 5x or maybe a 10x if you grabbed two other props with these. So easy cash on that. Honestly, Wilson was a bit of a sweat because he did get a hit within that first at bat, but overall it did cash. Then we got this DNP on the tennis. I was very confident about this. I did say it didn't make sense that it was at 10.5. It did end up getting bumped down to 10.0, so we did capture the value there, but DNP, so we couldn't see what was going to happen either way. But with the concept that I was going over with that fantasy score and why I thought it was a good underplay, I found a similar play later on in the day that I did send to the Discord with Vekic on the under 17.5 fantasy score. You can see that was an easy clear there, only got 4. So with the concepts I'm going over in the video, like the fantasy score, I'm hoping you guys are sort of applying them to your own slips and are able to create on your own, so that if I happen not to post a video on a day, you guys know what to do, how to find value and stack players up. Because look what I did here with this Cardinal stack. I did something very similar with the Cubs here, and you can see it did catch. Suzuki and Bellinger, they're right next to each other in the batting order. They were both juiced towards the under on the hits, runs, RBIs, so I went for that double under. Now, this wasn't in the YouTube video, but I explained these exact concepts every single video, so you guys could always go find stacks like this for yourself, or join the Discord. I'll find them all for you very easily. Then we got the Michael King, of course, easy cash on the pitcher strikeouts, and Assad was just a straight positive EV pick. No correlation with anything. Yes, he's still on the Cubs, but I wasn't going for anything with correlation here. Just a straight under hits allowed prop. It was a good prop. It even turned into a demon for how good of a prop it was. And to find this Vekic prop, it's not going to be on a positive EV dashboard or anything. You kind of have to look for yourself for these ones, but I did the same concept that I did with the Hizumi. So if you missed all those concepts, go watch last night's video and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But either way, I'm going to go over a nice format in today's video. So let's start off with just two positive EV props, and this one doesn't need much explaining. I'm going to go over the total games prop. I'm going to go with this girl here, Anastasia Pavlyukenchova. Very complicated name, but all you got to know is the under 22.5 total games is a good play. Now, how do I know this is a good prop on the under when I could barely even pronounce her name? Well, I'm using Pinnacle as a reference point. They are very sharp on these main markets, so I do trust Pinnacle's lines, especially for the total games. And you're going to see her over total games is at plus 114. Her under is at minus 131. The higher the minus, the more likely it is for something to occur. And you could go and devig this and turn this into actual percentages by putting minus 131 here, plus 114 on a no vig calculator, and you'll see there's about a 55% chance that Anastasia goes under that 22.5 total games. So I did absolute no research. I don't even know who this girl is. I don't really know who she's up against, but I know that that is already baked into that line at 22.5. So based on the line, they're probably expecting this to end in 2 sets. So in those 2 out of 3 sets, it's going to be like a 6-4, 6-4, or even a 6-4, 7-5. And that will cash the under 22.5 games. So first prop, very simple. Let's get into the second prop, which is not as simple. I'm going with Federico Valverde on his under 1.5 tackles. Plays for Real Madrid up against Atlanta in the Super Cups. So up against an Italian team, which is important to note as I go through these stats. So let's look at the actual game log for Valverde's 2023-2024 La Liga games. This is all the Spanish league, of course, and you could see in this column right here, number of players tackled, and you'll notice there's way more 0 and 1 tackle games than there is 2+. Yes, there is those games where he's getting 3 tackles, even 4 tackles, but he actually only got 4 tackles in 1 game. He got 3 tackles in 2 of these games, very spread out apart. Now I counted for you guys, so it's not too complicated. He started in 33 out of 37 games. Of course, I do expect him to start tonight, and in those games he started, he only went over 1.5 tackles in 12 of those games. Which means that in 21 out of 33 games, Valverde actually went under that tackles mark, which if you convert to percentage is about a 64% hit rate on that under tackles. So that's nice to see in La Liga, but I want to go over to the national team where he played in Copa America, obviously for Uruguay. In these 6 games, he got 1 tackle in 4 of those games. He got 0 in 1 of them, and he only went over that 1.5 in the game versus Brazil, where he got 5 tackles. So in 5 out of 6 games in Copa America, he did go under. And the reason this is so good to see is because in Copa America, it's a faster paced game and a much more aggressive game. And in 5 out of 6 games, he still cleared that under. So you can see how it makes sense if they're playing versus an Italian team, which is normally going to be a slower paced game, that Valverde is going to have less opportunities for tackles. I also do expect Real Madrid to hold more possession this game. If you're holding possession, you cannot be tackling people. You cannot be fouling people. And Real Madrid is a minus 200 period. So overall, all the stats are looking very good for Valverde to go under that tackles. But typically, I will not take a player without looking at his juice, at least if it's favored in that direction. But in this case, we don't have that problem because Valverde is juiced towards the under, minus 138 here, and then over is plus 100. Again, another prop that's hitting about a 54 to 55% hit rate. And when we combine that with a stack that we're going to end it off with in the MLB, this is a very good slip to lock in as a 4-man. So yesterday we took a stack on the Cardinals and it did hit. So if it's not broken, let's not fix it. We're going to go with another double under on the Cardinals. This time we're going to keep Burleson. We're going to remove Wilson, but we're not going with the runs on Burleson now. We're going on his under 2.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. And we're stacking this up with Mason Wynn on his under half a run. This is another beautiful stack, just as beautiful as it was last night. And if we go over to the MLB lineups, the reason I'm taking this specific stack is Mason Wynn is expected to be batting first. Burleson is expected to be batting right behind him. Taking the first and second batter is slightly better than taking the second and third batter. So it's another reason I'm liking this even more than last night's picks. I could see just how correlated a runs prop at the first position and a hits runs RBIs at the second position is. Because let's say Mason Wynn actually gets on base to just walking. So let's say he walks to first base. If Burleson's right behind him and hits a homer, he's clearing that 2.5 hits runs RBI. And Wynn is clearing that runs. And that's not something that's uncommon in the MLB. That happens quite often. People are not always getting on bases through hits. Yes, it's more likely you are. Walking is something that happens often enough to the point where taking a half a runs prop could be better than taking a 1.5 hits runs RBIs prop. Because it'll happen that someone will clear their over half a run, but not clear their over 1.5 hits runs RBIs. Because the only stat they'd get that game is that runs prop. So that's why I love the runs in front and then the hits runs RBIs behind. In this case, obviously we're not going for the overs. We're going for the unders. We're hoping Wynn's not getting on base all games. So Burleson will have one less chance to run someone in if Wynn is not getting on base. It could still be that the guys in the back of the order are still going to be getting on base, and then when they loop through, Burleson could run them in, but Wynn is going to be one less person for him to run in. Now, why am I going the unders? Once again, the juice is just heavy on the under. Look at Burleson, minus 130 juice towards that under. That's a pretty good prop, almost good enough to throw in a 6-man on its own, but why throw it in a slip on its own when you could stack it up with Mason Wynn on his under half a run, who's also juiced heavily towards the under, minus 125. So we have the right direction, we have heavy juice on that direction, and we have the correlation as well as 2 straight positive EV picks. Good luck with these picks tonight, boys.